Liberals and the lying legacy corporate corrupt mainstream media are outraged because President Trump beat back their narrative, he beat back the fear, and he beat back corona hysteria.
I just left Walter Reed Medical Center, and it's really something very special. The doctors, the nurses, the first responders, and I learned so much about coronavirus. And one thing that's for certain, don't let it dominate you. Don't be afraid of it. You're going to beat it. We have the best medical equipment. We have the best medicines, all developed recently. And you're going to beat it. I didn't feel so good. And 2 days ago, I could have left 2 days ago. 2 days ago, I felt great, like better than I have in a long time. I said just recently, better than 20 years ago. Don't let it dominate. Don't let it take over your lives. Don't let that happen. We have the greatest country in the world. We're going back. We're going back to work. We're going to be out front. As your leader, I had to do that. I knew there's danger to it, but I had to do it. I stood out front. I led. Nobody that's a leader would not do what I did. And I know there's a risk, there's a danger, but that's okay. And now I'm better, and maybe I'm immune. I don't know. But don't let it dominate your lives. Get out there. Be careful. We have the best medicines in the world, and it all happened very shortly, and they're all getting approved, and the vaccines are coming momentarily. Thank you very much. And Walter Reed, what a group of people. Thank you very much.
There are liberals now calling on the government to defund Walter Reed Hospital. How dare they release the president? This is setting a bad example. It's a bad precedent. He was even being lectured to last night by, of all people, Chris Cuomo. You know, the guy who supposedly had coronavirus, lived in his basement, did his TV show from his basement, and then we were supposed to have the big, unveiling of his rejoining the family. And yeah, but we found out he had actually been out and about and had altercations with other people, and some of it was even caught on video. So to be lectured to by these people, and this idea that you can't be doing this is all in defiance. Defiance of what? Defiance of the narrative. This nonsense is not about health. It's not about your safety. It is about a narrative of fear. I have been telling you that since day one. This is all about, they want you afraid. They want you to look around, and they want you to see other people wearing the mask of fear so that you are afraid. And the media is now admitting it. You must be afraid.
Don't be afraid of COVID. Don't let it dominate your life. Almost 210,000 Americans are dead.
Speaking of outrageous, this outrageous tweet.
Oh my goodness, Nicole. When I saw that Trump, I literally was overwhelmed.
And now we see this tweet, which is heartless. It is cruel.
Jake, this is so disrespectful. I'm not even sure I can speak about this. It's incredibly disrespectful. What does that mean? Don't be afraid of it. I mean, first of all, it's a contagious disease that kills people. There's nowhere to even begin. It's gross.
It's such a distressing moment.
It's just so horrible, so destructive to say I feel better than I have in 20 years.
That he's saying this is so disrespectful.
The president says it's no big deal. It's outrageous.
It is insulting to the people who have lost loved ones. It is insulting to every American who wears a mask. It's disgraceful, Wolf. It's absurd.
Don't tell your supporters, don't be afraid of COVID. Everyone should be afraid of COVID.
It's okay to be afraid of COVID, and it's okay that it's dominating your life because
see, that's all they got. That's all they've got. The Democrats at one time led the nation during the Great Depression with a message of, we don't have anything to fear, but fear itself.
The only thing we have to fear is fear itself.
Now let's compare that to what President Trump just did. Franklin Roosevelt said that at the height of the Great Depression. Millions of people out of work. People were starving. They had lost homes. They were living in cardboard shacks called Hooverville in Central Park in New York City. Children were orphaned. many of them just wandering the streets aimlessly, looking someplace for shelter, for food. It was an unbelievable crisis that hit this nation. Nearly 30% unemployment rate. Now, can you imagine if that had been Donald Trump, who had said, we have nothing to fear but fear itself? If we were in the midst of a Great Depression, why, the media would be all over that. How dare he make light of what people are going through, the real pain they feel, what they're having to deal with. He just has no empathy. He has no sympathy. He doesn't understand. And of course not. He's a rich businessman, and now he's living in the White House and eating off of fine china and wonderfully prepared meals every day. He hasn't got to worry about the things that real Americans have to worry about and are afraid. No, Roosevelt was praised because he came in. He hadn't even done anything yet. This was his inaugural address, 1933. And it was supposed to be this idea, come on, America, it's tough, but we're tougher. And we're going to pull together, we're going to rally, and we're going to beat this thing. That is exactly what President Trump did. It was presidential. He's not hunkered down in a bunker. He's not walking around in fear. And he certainly isn't going to be part of the mask of fear.
My prayers continue to be with the President and the First Lady for their health and safety, as they, like so many American families, are dealing with COVID-19. I was glad to see the President speaking and recording videos over the weekend. Now that he's busy tweeting campaign messages, I would ask him to do this. Listen to the scientists. His administration just rejected a mask mandate.
Yeah, that's Joe Biden's whole answer. Put a mask on. Put a mask on. In fact, that's all the Democrats have right now. Now, we could go through the stats, and we've gone through them before, that this idea that the mask helps is beyond ridiculous. In fact, most other nations have abandoned the mask. Sweden, completely. Europe, and it doesn't matter that they're seeing a spike in cases. They're watching the fatality rate just literally drop off the charts. We are surviving. We are getting through this. Herd immunity is actually happening, and I'm sorry, there are medical experts out there who are not Dr. Fauci or Dr. Scholes or Dr. Pepper, who are actually saying that this is beyond ridiculous at this point. But every time those doctors, those experts step forward, they get silenced on social media, they get their videos pulled by YouTube, and even Dr. Atlas, who is now leading the Corona Task Force. We have to listen to little snivel twits like Chris Wallace say, well, he's not an epidemiologist. Newsflash, neither's Fauci. So all of this constant fear-mongering, and then you got that nut, that governor in California. He's now actually saying, when you go out to eat, not only do you wear a mask to the table, but you will wear it while you're ordering, you will wear it while you're sitting there conversing, you will pull it down to eat, and then you will pull it back up while you chew. And these governors wonder why their state Supreme Courts are stepping in and saying, enough of this maddening nonsense. You know, we hear all of these critiques from the left. We hear all of these critiques from the progressives that Donald Trump is this militant czar. He's a dictator, and he is thwarting democracy. He is thwarting our republic, and he's just making these kinds of decisions on his own. He was going to send stormtroopers in to end peaceful protests. He was going to deny states their rights. No, Trump didn't do any of those things. He let the governors handle the pandemic. And look what they've done. They've killed not only their own economies, they have killed their people. Governor Cuomo killed his people. He stuck them in nursing homes, and it was a death sentence for the people in the nursing homes and the people who initially had coronavirus. And there was no reason for it. President Trump had deployed Navy ships to act as hospitals. Franklin Graham had set up a Samaritan's Purse hospital in Central Park. In fact, the military put up a hospital in record time in New York City, there was going to be no overwhelming of the hospitals, none. And eventually, the ships left New York, and the temporary hospitals that were erected were dismantled. Why? They weren't needed. Because we have been lied to from jump about this. There are not 200 some odd thousand people dead from coronavirus. In fact, from the CDC's own website, from their own stats, it's only about 8,000 people in this country that have died just from coronavirus. Every other death reported as corona, it was corona and something else. Corona and blood clots, corona and a heart attack, corona and a car accident. It's unconscionable what has been done. And in some nations, the people have figured out what's going on, and they've said that's enough. And whether you want to still believe the lie, even if you listen to the CDC or WHO, if you are under the age of 70, you have a 99.9.7% chance of surviving. And if you are over the age of 70, you have a 94% chance of surviving. President Trump did exactly what I would expect the president to do. He is leading. And what they're really upset about, this is going to resonate with the American people. I said this yesterday, and I'm going to say it again. The American people do not want to be masked or muzzled. They do not want their freedoms infringed upon. They do not want to live in fear. They do not want to live under these mandates. And these Democrats running around and Joe Biden running around saying, got to have a mask mandate. No, you don't have the authority to do that. And we're now seeing that state Supreme Courts are even stripping governors of that authority. So what makes you think you have the authority, Joe? That's right, you don't think. You are a mindless, dementia-driven drone, and all you do is say whatever the teleprompter says or whatever the earpiece is telling you to say. This is beyond vile what has been perpetrated on the American people. And now Trump is going to ram this down their throat. See, they expected him to be in the hospital and laying there with tubes and on a ventilator, and they were even, remember, they were salivating over the weekend. Well, maybe Vice President Pence is going to have to take over. Then the president started tweeting, and you know that irritated him. He went out and he greeted the people who were holding a vigil for him outside at Walter Reed Hospital. Why? He's not wearing a mask, even though he's 400 feet away and he's behind 6-inch plexiglass. He actually sent the people at that vigil, he sent them pizza. Did you know that? The mainstream media isn't covering that, but he had pizza delivered to them. And then last night, he went back to the White House. And right away, there are Democratic senators and congressmen that want to have an investigation. Was he actually released or did he just walk out? And why are we funding Walter Reed? This is setting a dangerous precedent. No, it's not setting a dangerous precedent. The president obviously is on a cocktail of treatment that a lot of which I am sure is not available to you and I and the general public. But I know one of the things he is taking is zinc, building up your immunity. I take zinc every day. I'm a firm believer in reinforce your immunity system. And to see him mocked and ridiculed for being strong and back at the White House, this is ridiculous. What's our choice? The resolve that we are going to get through this? He's saying we're going to have to learn to live with this. Yeah, duh. We've learned to live with the flu. We've learned to live with pneumonia. We live with all kinds of things that are fatal. We will get through this. See, again, they want to keep talking about how many people have it, how many people have it, how many people have it. Well, how many people have a cold? How many people have the regular flu? We don't know because they don't count any of that anymore. But in the day when we used to track those numbers, how many millions of people in the U.S. every year get the flu? How many millions of people in the U.S. every year get a cold? This is not the Black Plague. This is not the Death Plague. You can resolve and get through this. And unless you have a serious extenuating health issue, the president took a combination of treatments. It has worked. It has knocked it out of his system. And you know what this does now? This is fantastic. I said yesterday, and I'll say it again. I don't know who poisoned him, but this was supposed to be the October surprise, that he and key members of his staff and people that are out there helping him, hold his rallies, they've all got coronavirus. See, they don't mask, they don't follow the experts, and look, it's karma. It serves them right. But he beat it back, and now he's going to be able to say to the American people, look, I'm a 74-year-old overweight guy. You're always talking about I don't take the best care of myself. I eat McDonald's French fries. And look, I made it. You can make it. We got to stop being afraid of this. And that's what the liberals are really afraid of. That's what the mainstream media is really afraid of, is that you will stop being afraid. Because literally, the party that once said, we have nothing to fear but fear itself, is now saying we have nothing but fear. All the Democrats are always trying to do is make you afraid that you won't have a job, make you afraid you're going to die if you breathe air. All they've got is fear. And the president is bringing us a message of optimism, and that always plays well. That plays well. The president is going to get another surge in the polls on this, and this hogwash over the weekend that Biden has a 14-point spread over Trump. May I officially respond to that? In your wet dreams, CNN. In your wet dreams, Joe Scarborough, Mr. Magoo, with your pole dancing wife, Mika. Yeah, in your wet dreams, Don Lemon. Well, yeah, forget I said Don Lemon. It is unbelievable. And the president, in a master stroke, will now own the coronavirus and the victory over it issue and take that into the election cycle. The thing that they thought would take him out once and for all now, finally, would be he would be too sick to continue on. And he's not sick. 4 years ago, they thought it was a sex tape that was going to do him in. This time around, the final death nail. He's got coronavirus. He's going to debate. Oh, now Biden won't debate. You watch that. That'll come again. But see, Trump now owns this argument. And he owns the victory over the fear. And that is a message that people want to hear. No athletic team goes into a locker room for their coach to tell them, we're going to lose. Now, this is going to be a tough one. I don't think we can pull this one out. Just do your best. That doesn't inspire anyone. You know how many coaches went in and literally had to take their team and convince them they could charge hell with a squirt gun, and in the back of the coach's mind wondering, boy, this team really is awfully good that we're playing against, but we are going to do it. And that is exactly what President Trump is doing. That is exactly what he should do. Thumbs up. Kudos, Mr. President. I predicted yesterday this is what you were going to do. It is what you are done. You now own this issue, and we can now rip off the mask of fear. Hey, thank you so much for watching. Make sure you're a subscriber to the channel. Give us a thumbs up and a great big like. And make sure that you have smacked the bell and clicked the word all to get notification of my next rant.